One of the other things that over the years we've discovered, at event we talked about working in the direct field, and it's a good story. If most of the energy comes from the direct field, you are able to minimize the effects of the room on the listening position. Well, that's true, but there are other things that are going on in that listening position. And even though you minimize the effects of the room, you aren't eliminating the effects of the room. So because we have some serious DSP and a dedicated CPU, we are able to take a microphone, put the microphone where an engineer would sit, and analyze that place where that microphone is, and analyze the sonic conditions, whatever they might be, and compensate the speakers digitally for that location to be flat. Now, it actually is able to recognize, analyze, and compensate for secondary reflections, reflections off of mixing consoles, reflections off of computer screens, or any other reflective surface that might be, interfering with that listening position. We're able to compensate for that as well. And I can tell you, we've applied for a patent for the secondary reflection compensation as well. So we showed the speakers for the first time at the music messa behind closed door to a few close friends, and following that, we had our first real breakthrough. We took the prototype to a lab up here in Castaic. It was built by NASA in the 40s. It's got the largest anechoic chamber I have ever been in. It's huge. And we brought a prototype in. And this engineer that was running the lab, he used to work for NASA. We brought it in. He was there helping us set up. Inside this lab are 19 microphones in a big arc. And they're each 26 feet away from the epicenter, which is where our Q12 was placed. We locked it in place, and we swept the room. And from within the control room, without ever having to move the cabinet, we were able to see all of the response, completely off axis, 5% off axis response of the speaker, and we were able to digitally correct how the speaker should respond. That was the milestone where I knew we really had something, because in the past, the way it was done, and this is the way it was done, Walter would make a great transducer, and he would measure it, and it would be great, and then he'd build a box, and there'd be an amplifier, and he'd put together a crossover, and then there's a huge baffle. In the middle of this baffle is a huge cutout to the size of a speaker, and Walter would put the speaker in there, and then he'd take a single microphone, put it 26 feet behind in front of the microphone, blast it. He'd look at the response and go, "Gee, I think I got to change that." The thickness of that woofer, and he'd call the sample place. I need a new sample. It needs to be a little thinner material, and 6 weeks later, or a couple weeks later, whatever it would take to get a new sample, we'd get a new sample. He'd put it back together, put it back up in the box, re-sweep it, and go, this surround's wrong. And he'd go through the process, and after a series of compromises, every time he'd fix one thing that was a problem, something else would pop out, and he'd fix that, and then he'd deal with the crossover, and then he'd deal with the surround, all the elements of developing a speaker. And over the course of a few years, after a series of compromises, we would have a product that was sellable and usable. Well, this thing that happened at this NASA lab was amazing, because through these digitally controlled transducers and the CPU inside, we were able to actually correct all of the weird frequency anomalies that might exist without having to take the thing apart. We could do it digitally, and that was a milestone in the development process. It saved us a year. At least a year. In the performance is far better than anything we would have gotten before, because in the past we were always making compromises in order to correct those frequency anomalies, and now we're not compromising. So I believe that what we have here is really the next generation of speakers. I'm really proud of this.